Okay, so for today, I want to cover this section number 4 here, string operations. And this one is very important because if you're dealing with geospatial data, at the end, you are either dealing with numbers or you're dealing with strings, okay? And sometimes you want to extract some information from text. For example, they might give you a bunch of text, and then you want to extract the place name, extract the coordinates or something from the text. And how do we do that? So this is what this one is going to cover. It's very short, okay? And then next time we're going to cover the looping and also control statements. You can check the schedule. Right now we are still on schedule, so it's the third week. Right now we are here, and we should have lab 2 later on Thursday. So then we have basically 2 more weeks about the Python basics before we get into some geospatial stuff. So again, open your notebook locally, then we can start going through this. So we're going to cover a couple of functions, and as I mentioned in the past, Python programming is an object-oriented language. So that means every variable is kind of an object, and you can apply a function on that object depends on the data type of the object. So in terms of string variables, there are a couple of very common operations or functions that you can apply. For example, lowercase, uppercase, strip, replace, and also the split functions. And how do you print out the string when you need to do some specific formatting, for example, creating a new line or have a tab or indenting or something like that. So that we already covered in the previous lecture. So here, I'm just going to use a simple example. You can define a variable, and then you can assign a string to it. So this is just a simple, for example, Mount Everest, right? So you have 2 words in there separated by space. And you can start joining, because strings basically is just a string. You can join multiple strings together. For example, you have a first name, you have a last name, you join together, it becomes your full name, right? And you can have the street address, and then the city, and the state, and the zip code, right? It can also be another string, so you can basically continue to add things to it. So in this case, look at this one, right? So this is a string variable. So for all the strings, if you want to join them, you can use the plus, okay? Plus, and then double quotes, comma, the post, right? And if you print it out, it looks like this. See here? And so plus is used to join multiple strings together, okay? You're welcome to add more strings. So for example, at the end here, I can add another one, right? So for example, I can add another plus. And let's say assume that you want to add a zip code, for example, right? 100000, something like this. Can you do this? Let's assume, for example, this is like zip code for this location. Can I do that? Yes or no? Give it a try. You want to figure it out. Oops. No, it doesn't allow you. So what does this mean? So basically, the location is a string, right? And also add another double quotes is a string. What's the data type of the last one that I just added? It's an integer. So integer basically it doesn't allow you. So if you're trying to join something together, you need to make sure they're the same data type. Sometimes if you can do some so-called implicit conversion, it might be able to actually convert it for you. But in this case, it doesn't allow. So it says can only concatenate string to string, not int. That means right now the last one is integer. So although you might want to like zip code maybe a number, but it can be a string as well. So you only need to just do something like this. Okay. And then if you run again, then you should have something. And of course, it doesn't look good, right? You have a comma, so you can actually do here, comma, and then something like this. So now you can add a place, country, and then the zip code. The other way you can do that is something like this. You can still keep the number if you really want to, and you can do a convert and calling the function str. Right, so str means you can convert anything to a string. Str is just like a conversion function. And again, in this case, you can do it like this. So in here, it doesn't look good. How do I add a space in front of the zip code? So what are you doing here? Can I just add a space in here? Will that work? It doesn't matter, right? Because it's going to convert to a string, and then it's going to remove the space at the beginning. So how do I add a space in front of the zip code? So they right now Nepal and 1000, the zip code is separated with space. What do we need to change in here? Yeah, right. Should be simple like this. And this is one way. Is there any other way? Like sometimes if you don't want to do this, what do you do? Can you do another space like this? Right? You can add as many spaces as you like. So, or you can add a comma, for example, Nepal, and then something like this. Space. Make sense? So you can join them all together. So you can convert from the number to string, and this is how usually print it out. So you can format the printing with what kind of whatever format you like, and you can convert number to string. You can convert float to string or integer to a string. So it's very common operations. Next, let's talk about the other one, right? So here, when you join multiple strings together, we use the plus sign. How about this one? Multiply. So this one is basically a hyphen here. If you multiply by 10, it means it's going to print 10 times. So look at this, right? And you can change this one to anything pretty much. I can change it to a star. Print out 10 stars, right? So this is better than if you need to print out, for example, 20 times or 30 times, right? It's better than you trying to do it like manually, like this. It's not very computationally efficient, right? You need to write many times. Oh, you need to, okay, just one. So think about here, anytime you're doing something and you need to do it repetitively, then just think. Don't just do it like manually, like write many lines or write many numbers. You can always do the conversion, right? So do it like this. A star, and then it can be your name, for example. Let's just type city. What does this really mean? What is this one doing? Repeating the city is 30 times. Oh, cool. How about I want to add a space in between? What do you do here? City, space, city, space. Can we do that? So what do we do? Yeah, simple, right? Add a space after city. So think about how powerful it is. It can be 100 times, it can be 1,000. It doesn't matter. All you need to figure out like how do I do that for one? Then you can do that for all of them. Okay. So we can also add a comma. For example, here I can do a comma space like this. So this is how you basically do some manipulations on the string. And also in programming, sometimes we use the so-called GIS database. And if you use that, sometimes you need to construct this is called SQL query, structured query language. Although this is not the focus of this course, but if you know Python, it's going to make you much easier to write those SQL statements. So in here, you can define a variable, and then so the f string, right? We already covered this one in the previous lecture. We'll cover more later. But the f string basically allows you to print out a string, right? You can put a placeholder inside. And then so whenever you encounter the placeholder, it's going to replace the variable name with the value of the variable, right? So in here, I have a table name called locations, and I have a condition equal to country equal to Nepal. And this is pretty much the SQL statements. If you ever use ArcGIS or QGIS, this is basically select by attribute. If you remember, you open the attribute table and then open the query, and then you double click the column name equal, greater, blah, blah, and then you select the value, and then construct that query. And then when you click select, it's going to highlight the features on the map. So behind the scene, it's actually doing the so-called query. So this is the SQL query. And run this one, you see here, select star from location where country equal to Nepal, blah, blah, blah. And so if you need to change to another country, for example, USA or whatever, you just change the name in here. So everything remains the same. So always think about if you're writing a Python program and you want to make that one very generic that other people can use, then think about how many lines of code other people need to change in order to use your program. If they don't need to change anything, that means your program is perfect. It can be applicable to different use cases. If the user need to change many lines, then your program is not so good because you need to minimize the requirement that the user need to make changes, right? So in here, I can say, just a country, for example, I can do maybe China, for example, change to China. And so this one here is the placeholder. So if string, and then double quotes, inside you can have anything, and then you can have the curly brackets in here. So whenever you encounter the curly brackets, it's going to have this, replace this variable name within the curly brackets with the value of that, right? And so where, and then blah, blah. So here, something like this. This is how we print out, basically construct a SQL string based on different variable names. So this doing some simple operation, okay? Plus, multiply, join all the things together. Next one is about some of the methods you can apply on a string object. And I listed a couple of those in here. It's pretty common, but if you want to get a complete list, then it will be something like this. So all you need to do is, for example, this is the name of the variable, location names, and then just type dot. Then just wait for the drop-down list to pop up. And here you can see all the methods available for this specific object. I only listed some of this common one here, lowercase, uppercase, shift, or something like that. And so if you select the drop from the drop-down list, look at some of these in here, and you might notice some Y have some underscore, and some without the underscore. You know? Why there are two different types. And also you can pay attention in here, right? It's not A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then X, Y, Z, and then start from underscore, right? Why do we have function like this? What's the use case? This. Why don't you just something like add without the underscore? All right, so what's the use case? Okay, if nobody knows, that's perfectly fine. So these are called the private functions or the private methods. So it's not supposed you should avoid using that. It's more like so-called protected members, protected methods of the class. So usually they don't want to expose to the private. This is called public. That means if you call the function, you can call this function. But sometimes you might have a function that's very complicated. It built on top of other functions, and you don't want to expose those functions to the outside. That means you can have some of those called private methods. And this is what we're going to cover later when we talk about the functions and classes. But it's still, you can see here, it came from the drop-down list, but you don't use it, you don't want to use it because it's just for private use cases. For other public methods to call the private methods. And it's kind of like some of the dependencies for them, but you can use it if you want to, but you should avoid. Anytime if you see something underscore, that means try not to use it in your source code unless it's really necessary. But for other methods, for example, center, count, index, for example, lower is title, is digit, is decimal, is it lower, blah, blah, is it numeric? These things can be quite useful because sometimes they give you a string. And I want to tell you, I want you to tell me if it is uppercase or lowercase. Okay. So for example, if you look at the this location name equal to this one, okay, and tell me, is this one uppercase? Is this a numerical value? Or is it all lowercase? Don't just say that, okay, yeah, I see it, it's title case. You should not do that. You should ask the program to tell you, okay? Don't just use the human eye saying that, okay, this is upper lowercase. For example, I will say, how about this one? Maybe location name equal to Knoxville. So think about here. Right now, this is a variable. And how do I know if this is uppercase or lowercase? Of course, I can see it. I know it's lowercase. But how do you write a program to tell you? So what you need to do is just, okay, location, and then dot, okay? This is where you can utilize some of those functions. So I will just say, because earlier I saw there's is, And take a look at this one. Is ASCII, is digit, is lower? I know it's probably this function. It's going to tell you if this string is uppercase or lowercase. So we write this one. What do you expect to see? Is it lower? It's probably going to print out 2. Make sense? And if I change it to uppercase K, what do you expect to see? False. Right, so you can basically change the input, and then this is the simple function that you can call. It's pretty powerful. And of course, there should be another one called uppercase or is title. For example, is this title case? Yes, yes. The first letter is capitalized, so it's title case. Is this uppercase? The upper? No, upper means like all uppercase. So this is a function you can use to verify basically that kind of condition. And so beside the is, you can also do the conversion. So this is where this is all about. To uppercase to lowercase. So I can say location name equal dot and then just upper. So if you're calling this function, you don't assign it to the variable. That means it's temporary. It's going to print out the result, but your result is not saved anywhere because you're not assigning to a variable. So you run this one, you will see print out Knoxville, okay? But it's only once. If you want to use this one in your program, then you need to assign this to a variable so that it keeps in the memory, they can use it again, right? So what you need to do would be like doing something like this. And then I would say, okay, give a new variable name, location, maybe upper, equal to blah, blah, something like this. Then if you assign to something, it's not going to print out. So the reason why it's print out is because you call the function, you're going to return the value. And if you don't assign the value to somebody else, it's going to print out the value of that outcome. Okay. So anytime if you don't want to print out something, you assign to a variable. And that variable can be anything, okay? If sometimes you just want to assign it, but you don't know what name to choose, it's simple. You just have an underscore. In that way, it's going to basically use as kind of just a dummy variable. It's not printing out anything, and it's going to be just like this. But it's kind of use this. So certainly, if you want to keep the things in the memory, you need to make sure you assign to a variable. Then you can use it. So again, upper, right? And then you can do like lower, parentheses, and then run this one. Again, make sure that you have the parentheses. If you just like do it like this, location, name, lower, you're not going to get anything. It's just going to tell you this is a function, blah, blah, blah. And it's not doing anything. It's just print out a function definition. That's it. So make sure pretty much every function or every method you're going to call in Python, you will need to have the parentheses. Or if you don't have that, if that object has a so-called attribute, then you don't need the property. You don't need the parentheses. So kind of later when we define a class, right? For example, a student class, I can say your major is equal to, for example, GIS. Then you don't need to your major parentheses. You'll be just student dot major going to print out. But you can also the students working, for example, dot work. Then need the parentheses. Okay. If you're taking actions, so a measure, if there's a measure, you're trying to call a measure, then you have parentheses. If you're just getting the attribute, then there's no parentheses. Just want it to be clear. And also the other one here called strip. So what this one is used is, for example, you might have a string looks like something like this. I'm going to add a couple spaces at the beginning and maybe a couple spaces at the end. Right? So sometimes if you have some of this data in a CSV or in a TXT file, and then you have multiple lines and you want to basically remove them, clean it up, then you can use the strip function to remove all the spaces. So in here, for example, right now, let me run this one. Okay, I'm just going to show you the differences. So you have print location name. I'm not sure if you can see that, but you're going to have this at the beginning, right? And you're going to also have something at the end. Can you see that? Because you have some spaces. It might not be very clear, but you can use this one. So location name dot strip maybe let me print out down below so it's here. Print, okay, and then location name dot strip. See, notice the differences. So right now the strip function remove all those white spaces at the beginning and also all those at the end. So right now you cannot actually select, but for this I can. Okay? So the strip function allows you to strip the left and the right, the beginning and the end. How about this? I just want to remove the space at the beginning. I want to keep the one at the end. What do you think? I'm going to remove the one at the beginning, but I'm going to keep the one on the right. Can we do that? Is there a function for doing that? Dot. Scroll down and see if you find something that's reasonable. L strip. Okay, perfect. L strip means left strip, just the left one. Parentheses, find it. So now it looks like pretty much the same, but you will see on the right here, this one still is here. And how about removing the one on the right? R strip, right? So it's pretty intuitive. R strips, parentheses. Now you keep the one on the left. So L strip, R strip, or just strip to strip everything. So this is allows you to do some cleaning on the data. And yeah, just like this one here, upper. So next one is called replace. Replace means you can replace the name or certain strings with something else. Okay, so let me go back to this one. Just right now we have Knoxville. Let me. Yeah, I will use this same example just to give you an idea how to do that. So here, I want you to remove all the spaces and then replace Knox with Nash. I want Nashville. I don't want to print out the whole string. I just want to replace Knox with Nash, N-A-S-H. So what should we be doing in here? How do we do that? All right. So the function here we're going to use is called replace. Okay. So you know how do we remove the string, the empty spaces? To be location dot name, and then dot what? Strip. And then you can continue. Okay. So it's like a chain of functions. So the next one you need to use is called replace. All right. Perfect. Okay. And look at here the replace function. It's two parameters. So the first one is the one you want to replace. Second one is the one you want to replace to. Okay, from to. So what we should be doing here, I want to replace Knox with Nash. Make sense? Of course, you can just replace the whole Knox with Nash with. It's the same, but just give you an idea. So run this one. Okay. So this is how we can do like find and replace at the same time, all at once. So this is one like, and maybe give you an example, right? You might have like multiple, for example, Knox, Tennessee, United States. So look at this one here. I want you to replace Knox with Nash. What county is Nashville? Davidson. Davidson County? Okay. So look at this one. I want you to replace Knoxville, Nashville. And I want you also to replace Knox County with Davidson County. And I want you to do it in one round, one line of code. Can we do that? Yes or no? Right? So Knoxville with Nashville. And, okay, how to deal with the Knox County? You can continue to apply, right? You can replace again, replace. And then, so the next one will be Knox. Replace with. All right. Good. Done. So this is how you can do some replacement of the strings. And certainly you need to, sometimes you might need to pay attention. If you have multiple things, appear at the same time in the string, the replace is only replace the first occurrence. It's not replacing all of them, right? So in here, I can assume that, okay, it's not called Knox County. Let's just assume that there's a county called Knoxville County. And right now, I need to replace Knoxville with Nashville. How are we going to do that? Do you think this will work? Can you? Oh, I need to run this one again. Sorry. Oh, it replaced all of them. Okay. I saw it's only once. Probably it's improved. But how about sometimes I just want to replace the first one. I don't want to replace all of them. Then it's going to be, there may be a parameter here. Oh, okay, count. Okay, perfect. This is because they improved the function on the recent versions. The negative one means you're going to replace all of them. But if you just need the first encounter, for example, just replace the first one, then you need to basically, in here, comma, I believe it is like maybe just one. We'll replace only once. So look at this. Okay. Right now, the first one is change. The second one is keep. And if you replace with 2, you're probably going to change all of them. But I can happen to another one, right? Let's say Knoxville one day become a state. Okay, Knoxville, state of Knoxville. Then in this case, it's probably just going to replace the first 2. So the count, you can decide what you want. Negative one means basically I don't care. Replace all of them. So if you don't provide, it's going to use the default values. Then it's going to replace all of them. This one. Okay, so this is how you do some replacement of the string. And it's kind of like you open a notepad and then have some string and then you want to just or Microsoft Word document, like copy and then find and then replace. It's the same thing. But we are doing it programmatically. We are not using the interface. So this can be used to replace pretty much anything. So that's about the replace. The other one is really helpful. It's called the split function. Okay, so the split function allows you to split a string into multiple elements. So again, look at this one. Let me go back so it's a little bit better. So let's look at this string, right? Right now, this is a long string with city, county, state, and United States. And it's a single string, but I want it to extract into multiple columns. I want the city column, I want the county, and then the state, and also the country. So you probably, you can see it from here, but again, don't do it. They're saying that, okay, I can see it. You need to write a program to actually to be able to do that. So the split function here is particularly useful. That allows you to split them into different items. And it's very simple. I'm going to do it here, location name dot split. And inside here, you're going to have this separator. The separator in here, by default, is going to be a space. Okay, but here we need to split them based on the comma, and also there's a space at the end, right? So you probably want to add a comma and then space as the splitter. If you run this one, take a look, perfect. So now the whole string has been split into 4 elements, right? City, county, the state, and also the country. What will happen if I just have a comma? If I remove the comma in here, oops, double quotes. Okay. So pay attention. What's the differences? Notice the differences between this one. Yes? That means you split by comma and there's a space at the beginning. So if you don't want a space, then you probably need to remove it. Also, if you don't provide anything, it's also going to split, but by default, it's using a space. So this is probably not what you wanted, but if this you want to basically count how many words within this string, then you want to use the space. So this is 1 and 2, 3. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. But it has all the commas in here. So for this right now, I want to ask you, extract every word out of this string without a comma. Can you do that? So I want Knoxville. Okay. Knox County. So how do I extract these 6 words from this string without a comma? So think about the logic, how you're going to do that without programming. In your mind, design something that, okay, yeah, this is what I can do this step 1, step 2, and then you want to find the corresponding function in Python to do that for you. So just this example, this is the very most basic Python like operations. How do I extract them outside? So how you're going to extract them, right? So you need to know like, oh, when you need to do the extraction, you can use the split function, but how do we deal with the comma? I don't need the comma. So if you don't need the comma, what do you do? Any solutions? It's already covered, okay? I already mentioned this earlier. So the first step, what's the first step? I think there are multiple solutions. You can split first and then replace the comma, or you can replace the comma first and then split, right? So either way, it's fine. And probably the easiest, most straightforward way will be to replace the comma. That's it. So look at this. I'm going to replace, and then take a look at this, comma with double quotes, empty space, nothing. And look at this. Can you see that? Not KOV, not K N O X. Okay. Run this again. See? So this is the first step. You replace the comma. And after that, what do you do? To separate them, what function do we use? The split. And so we're going to use the space as the split, the separator. So in this case, it's the default one, so you don't really need to do anything. Just run this. See? Perfect. And done, right? One line of code. And this can be anything, okay? You can have a whole sentence like have many, many lines. It doesn't matter. You're going to extract all of them all at once. So, and then after that, you can start doing the indexing, right? So if I'm going to ask you, right, from this string, find out the county, the name of the county. How do we get the county, the name of the county from this outcome here? So what's the data type of the output after the split function? What's the data type of this one? No, I mean the whole. What's this? What's this one indicate? Square brackets. A list. How do you do the indexing of the list? What's the index of the first one? 0, 1, 2, right? So then the county name would be index 1. Right? So you can get information step by step down to whatever you like. And so, for example, in the next lecture, when we're dealing with files, I can give you a text file with all kind of information in there. And I want to ask you to extract a specific city or name or place name, whatever, out of the string, and replace with something else. You can do it like this. Okay. So again, practice. The split function is very useful. You can split comma, space, a star, or it can be anything. You just whatever in here you want to split, put it inside a comma. Okay, so this is about the split function. And what else do we have in here? Also, you can do some cleanup. And so this one sometimes might be useful here, right? So you have a number of countries and it's not standardized. You want to, for example, change all of them to title case. So the first one here is lowercase. It also has a string at the beginning. This one is all uppercase. This one is lowercase. I have a string at the end. And the last one here, this one is great. So how do you actually reformat everything so that you can just basically normalize them or so-called standardize? And this is a function in here. We haven't covered about the for loops yet, but this is so-called list comprehension. So this comprehension means you're going to do operations to every item in the list. And if you reading something like this, you want to read the second part first, okay? For county in counties, the counties is a list. Basically, I'm going to do some operations for every item in the list. So for every country, I'm going to apply the shift function to remove all the empty spaces left and right. And then I'm going to apply the title case. And I'm going to return the result as an element in the new list. So basically, you have a list of items. I'm going to loop through the items. And then once you get the result, I'm going to put into a new list, put into the new list, put into the new list, put in the new list. Make sense? Kind of like I have all the students in my class. You have the first name, last name, but I just want the first name. And I just, one line of code, I can get all the first name for the students. Right? So it's pretty simple and easy for this one. And this is called list comprehension. So the outside going to square brackets. And look at this. So right now it's all standardized. Again, it doesn't matter how many items in the list. It can be 100, it can be 1,000, a million, it doesn't matter. It's the same line of code. So I'm going to show you the other example here. For example, names equal to, I can have a bunch of names inside the list, and I can start extracting just the first name, right? So for example, I can say Michael Jordan. Okay, perfect, you see? Perfect. So I have 3 names in there. So right now, I need to extract the first name. I need to extract just the first name from this. Again, it can be unlimited number of items. So what do you think? All we need, right? Look at the structure, something like this. So when you start writing the program, you can do it like this because it's a list. The outcome will also be a list of names, right? List of first names. So what you do, you put the square brackets first. And then it's doing the looping. Again, we cover the looping in the next lecture. But for now, what I'm showing you is pretty simple. For something in something. Basically, you want to do every item. So here I can do for name in names. And right now, probably it doesn't work because the syntax is not right. So you need to tell me what do you want to do with each item, right, for each name. So you're going to put something at the beginning. You have some space in there. So how do I extract the first name out of a string? In this case in here, what do we do? I give you a full name. You need to extract the first name for me. What function do we use to extract the first name out of a string? What the commonality of here for all the names? You cannot count how many characters, okay? Because the name varies. The length, the number of characters is different. So how do you extract the first name out of each name? So if you have a name, you're going to have first name and then space, last name. Yeah, so it's the space in between. So which function do we use to split them into first name and last name? The split function, right? Simple as that. So you'll be name dot split. Make sense? Is it enough? So this is going to split them into the first name and last name. It's going to be a list. So what's the index of that first name out of the output of the list? Square 0. Make sense? For something in something, I only will split the name. And then because once you split, you're going to have 2 items in the list. I just need the first name. So the index will be 0. Then you run this one. See? Make sense? It's super easy and it's powerful. How about I want to get the last name? What do we need to change? Turns to 1. That's it. Now we get the last name. How do I get the first character of the last name? First characters of every name of their last name. 1 0 here. You can do all kind of things. So it's like, as long as you know how to do it for one item, you can do it for unlimited number of items. This is the power of using programming to automate the process. So I can give you a bunch of text and then go, okay, extract the split the first name and last name, and then just give me the first name or give me the last name, give me the first characters, the first 3 characters, whatever you like. And you can do with all kind of manipulations. So this is about string operations. Again, there are more functions in there. I want you to actually to practice it. So the other one I can do would be maybe how about, let me go back to this string in here just to show you how we can count. Okay, for example, right, you can location.name dot count. Count allows you to count what's the string appear, how many times it occur within that string. Okay, so how about this one? Nox. What do you think? How many times does Nox appear in that string above here? 2. Yes. And how about this? Lowercase 0. All right, so the count allows you to count how many times it appear. And the other one would be useful would be I think the index, for example. So what does this really mean is for this one I'm looking for, where does it start? For example, the starting index. Then you start having the Knox field, right? So you're going to see this one here, but I can change it to something else. For example, I change it to county 16. So why this 16? So the index means it's going to treat this string as a list, and then going to start counting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until you encounter that. So county is here. So where is the C index in this string? Make sense? I'm going to start from 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so start from 16. So the index allows you to find out where does it start exactly. And if you know, right, something you're looking for, then you can start, for example, how about this? Okay, I want to just extract county and then remove everything from the beginning. Can we do that? So basically, I give you a string, and I don't need this part. I just need this portion. So what do you think what we should be doing here? Right now, think about in your mind, right? Don't think about programming. You think about how do I figure this one out, right? So I already told you the first step. I already find the county, right? So how do you do, like, you already know the index, right? So how do we select this portion of this sentence and then go the way to the end? Can we do that? So this is the index, right? So you can probably do it like this. index. So the start index equal to this one. And then it should be pretty simple, okay? Location names. And then square brackets. What else? Text. Colon. Boom. Make sense? How do I extract the one from the beginning? Knoxville and Knox. Okay. You're doing the reverse. And you have a space at the end, or you can have like index -1. So it's super flexible. You just need to think about how do I get to this step manually, and what's going in your mind, what's the process, and then you just use the program to implement to do it for you. So string operation is very, very common. If you know how to do it very smoothly, it's going to help you a lot later when we deal with geospatial data, because you're going to open a shapefile, you're going to open a GeoJSON in ArcGIS and or QGIS, and then you're going to start, okay, extract this string, extract blah, blah. There are all kind of functions you can use to do stuff. So these are all the basic one I want to cover to you. And then next, let's quickly talk about the formatting, okay? And we have covered the so-called the F string. I want to use this one. In the past, we used the so-called format string. I want you to understand this one because you might still see some source code use this. The format string is that you're going to have the empty curly brackets in here, but you cannot, it's kind of like placeholder. So what this one is doing is going to, okay, based on the format function, like double quotes, and then think about this is basically the format. This is the string, and the string has a format function that allows you to replace this one, replace whatever in the curly brackets with the variable. So what it's doing is, so how many curly brackets in here within this string? How many? 2, right? So in the format function, you need to have 2 variables. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So the first empty curly bracket is going to replace the value with this one. And the second one here is going to replace with this one. Okay? So what it's doing here, I have the latitude, longitude, and it's going to ask you, okay, the coordinates, curly brackets, and then print out. So this is what it's doing, right? It's going to print out this one, and then when you encounter the curly brackets, it's going to find the order from the format function. So you're going to grab the latitude, and latitude come from here, and then it's going to print out and then put in here, and second one. So if I have another one in here, legwork. So how many curly brackets in there? 3. So you need to have 3 also at the end, otherwise it's not going to work. So you can have another one if you want to. I can have another, for example, location name, whatever. Yeah, that's fine if you have the location name. So you need to basically equal, okay? If you have 1 curly brackets, you have within the format function, you need to have 1 variable. So this one is like in the past, it's a little bit tedious because if you have like 10 curly brackets, then you do start counting like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sometimes it's too much. So what we usually want to do is use this one. So have a F at the beginning, and this is called F string. And then within there, you have the curly, the double quotes. So in that way, you don't need to count like order. All you need is just within the curly brackets, I put the name of the variable in there. So there's the placeholder. It's going to replace. So it's much easier to understand rather than have multiple. You have 2 locations like here, curly brackets, and then a variable name. So this is more like a shortcut, all in one, right? So I want to say coordinates, and then here we have the curly brackets. Inside is the variable name. Inside the longitude. So I can do it like this, right? And similarly, I can have another curly brackets inside. So I'm going to have comma, and then I can have another one here, location name, for example. So in this way, I don't need to worry about the order of the variable, the order of the placeholder. All we need is just put whatever inside. So the F string, you're certainly going to use a lot throughout this course because you need to print out something. You don't want to do the hard coding. You don't want to say like coordinates, colon, and then parentheses, and then the number. Never do the hard coding. Everything should be getting from the variable, getting from something. So when the user is trying to print out something, they can change the variable name. They don't have to deal with the last line. So the last line remains the same. So for example, here, if I change this one to something else, right? 30, for example, you run it, and you run here. I don't need to change anything else because the printout function, it depends on the variable. If you change the variable, the value will be changed. Okay. Otherwise, you have to print out. If it change, you have to change multiple lines. That's no good. So you minimize the line of code that you need to change when you're doing the programming. So this is how to use the f string. And similarly, we can do something like this, right? So you have a point, and you have the latitude and the longitude. So this is anytime if you have the f in here, remember it's called f string, okay? And it can be uppercase or it can be lowercase. Either one is fine. I can do that. No, sorry. It can be single quotes or it can be double quotes. But you need to match, right? So if you have a single quote at the beginning, then you need to have a single quote at the end. And the result is the same. You cannot have a single quote at the beginning and then have a double quote at the end, then it doesn't work. All right, so this is how you do printing, doing the formatting on the strings. In the last couple minutes, we have two more examples. Parsing and extract information from strings. And so this can be useful. Look at this one, right? So we probably have encountered this one. Sometimes you're searching on Google, right? And assume that you're working for a company and you have a website that allows the user to search location. And you want to find out, for example, where to usually do user search, what the location that they're interested in. So the user might enter something like this, okay? N means north, right? Latitude. And then E means eastern, right? So you're going to enter something like this. So how to actually figure out, and then if you want to map out the location that user are searching for, then you need to extract the numbers. Because this one you cannot directly put into the program because it's a string. You need the number. So then you have the latitude, longitude, you need to convert to if it is weights. You need to have a negative at the beginning or something like that. So if I give you a string and I ask you to extract the numbers, now you should be able to do that, okay? So max, look at this one. So what's the commonality, right? First you want to deal with the comma. So we're going to split this one by comma and space, and you're going to split this one into this and also this. So two items. Then from the latitude, you will see this one here. Double quotes, comma, and then -1. That means you're going to extract the values and then remove something until the last one. So let me do this step by step so you understand what I'm talking about. So I'm coming in here. And sometimes you'll be something like this. I can say items. Items. Right. So you split this one into, and the result will be two items. So the reason that why you put this one comma at the beginning is if this is a list, and so this one has two items. You want to extract them individually, then you can put two variable names separated by comma. Then it's going to be one to one, right? Because the outcome has two items. I can have two variables, and then going to the first element is going to assign to the first variable, the second one to the second. This is why it's doing like this. Again, I'm going to replace this one so they understand the logic. Why are we doing this? So now this will be the latitude string, and then the second one will be the longitude string. Right? So once you have this, now we can deal with the string, right? So this item. So how do we extract the numbers out of this? How do I extract the coordinates? Then you need to deal with this n, right? N is not needed. So what you need to do here will be something like this, comma to -1. Make sense? So now I get the numbers. And if you see the single quotes, it's a string, it's not a number. So that's why I need to do the conversion to float. Then you'll be something like this, float. Now it's a number. Right? So this is why in here it looks a little bit complicated. But if you step by step, if you dissect them step by step, you'll be able to understand. Eventually, now this one becomes a number. This one becomes a number. So this is why you can extract the numbers from there. And in here, it doesn't really matter what you put in here. I can have south, right? I can have this one, west. And if you run it, it will look like this. But pay attention. This is not supposed to be, right? So if you really to south, it should be negative. And if this west, it should be also the numbers should be negative. And this is where you want to use the conditional statements. If it is equal, the last character equal to north, south, I'm going to add a minus. Okay, multiply by -1 becomes negative. If it is west, I'm also going to multiply by -1 become a negative values. This is what we're going to cover in the next lecture. I'll tell you how to do that. For now, is just extract the numbers, but it needs a little bit more. So this is how you can, like, based on the search result, people want to enter all kind of different things on your website. You're going to get all the search results. You're going to plot them on the map. So you are, okay, users looking at this particular location. And sometimes people just enter the names, not necessarily coordinates. But now if I give you some coordinate, give you a string, you should be able to extract just a number out of that. Okay, and you can do it automatically. You don't have to look like, okay, copy and paste, copy and paste. It's very manual, very tedious. And there's always a way to quickly do this automatically. And similarly here, right, I have along a street address, right? The street name, the city, and also the country. So now you can just do the split comma space, and then you can extract them easily like this. So you have a city, and then a country, right? How about this? Let me tell you. I'm going to show you another example. If I remove the space, something like this, what do you think? Will it work? Oopsie, not enough values to unpack. What does this really mean? So I'm going to have the address, I'm going to split, and then by comma, by space. And what is this is doing is, like, there's not really, let me show you here. Reason for that, if you give index long string and you're going to split by comma and space, there's nothing there. So everything, you see, that whole list is the first item. Because there's nothing, it's comma and space in between. It's just comma. So what you really need to do is to do something like this. So be careful. Sometimes you might need to do it, figure out like what separator do you need to use. Does it have comma? Does it have space? How many spaces? It all matters. So when you're doing the splitting, you're going to look exactly that one. So if in your string doesn't have that, all the item will become the first, a whole string will become the first item in the list. And then that means you only have one item in the list, then you cannot have multiple things in there. Okay, so that's all for this lectures. And here's some exercise in here for you to do exercise. I actually already posted by lab 2 yesterday. You're welcome to do it if you want to get started earlier. And so for the string operation, we have 5 questions in here. Next lecture, I'm going to cover the looping and also conditional statements. But after today, you should be able to do the first 5. Okay, and then we have the second half for the next lecture. All right, so that's all for today.